And welcome.
I
Uncle
was
Al
doing
went
the
and hid.
same thing.
Got y'all dancing, huh? Anywho,
The music was
evening,
good.
Give me a little tune.
welcome to another SOP Tuesday night live stream. Tonight we've got us a little bit of a panel up here. We have the one and only Courtney from Wide Family.
Howdy.
We've got Miss Mouse Toast from Miss Mouse Can Can Anything with Hooves and Beaks and it grows on leaves. Yep, that's Mouse. We got Miss Nina, who is still muted. We'll unmute her.
Sorry.
There she is. That's okay. So we got Miss Nina, who is living the dream.
Hey,
She might
y'all.
not tell you she is, but trust me, she is. She's down south, living the way we all want to be living, nice and comfortable. We've got, of course, Mr. Uncle Al there, the craziest of us all, and he openly admits it. We've got Gil, the ex-retired U.S. government person. Oh, you didn't hear that.
Wait, I gotta hide my face.
Wrong hat.
Wrong hat.
So for those who are planning
nefarious
nefarious So those of you who are planning nefarious activities, please be prepared to be careful because we are watching. And of course, you have me. So this evening, let's see who we've got hiding out in the chat. We have Carol from Fish and Loaves Life. We have Gray Man Prepping. Oh, that's Gil. We have CB. There's Mouse. There's CB. There's Al. There's Miss Nina. There's Miss Mouse.
Butch.
I ain't got that far yet. Hold on. I'm an old man. We
Let
got
him
Urban
catch up.
Trapper 34. There's Miss Courtney. There's Butch. There's Patricia. There's Rebel Canners.
Hello, Rebel.
Texas Rob 28. I think that catches us up to where we're at the moment.
Right. I think there's also another person. Did we cover Debbie?
Was there a Debbie in there?
There's a
Did I
Debbie
miss a
and
Debbie?
a Patricia.
Well, I seen Patricia. I didn't catch a Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Sorry, I
Yeah.
missed you. There she is. Deborah E.
Yep.
All right. I got to look at two different chats because they're a little off each. So I'll get it someday.
We're all
Say
a
what
little
now?
off. You're a little off. We're all a little off on top of that.
That's why we're on
I'm not
YouTube
off.
because we're all. Yeah, you are.
I'm perfect.
Courtney.
Yeah, you're on YouTube. You ain't perfect.
I'm way off. Past left field and
Mm-hmm.
towards the
No,
next
no,
city.
no. Hey, just because you live in California doesn't mean you're in left field. You're off in right field. Get it straight.
Well, no, if you look at the map, he's on the left coast.
In left field.
It's left field.
He's on the left coast and right field. He's just surrounded by leftists. Sorry, shouldn't have said that. So, this evening's topic, while we wait for a few more people to sneak up on in here, because I show 11 at the moment.
Yep.
Is we're going to have the ladies start off. We're going to have them discuss when they first decided to start being prepared for things. It doesn't matter what they're preparing for, whether it be homesteading or having a supply stash of food, what their first hurdle was and how they got past it. Because you know what? My channel has always been pretty much premised on helping the person who's beginning. My first series of videos were using the cheapest of cheap stuff and showing that it could be used in situations where needed. Yes, I do have some much better equipment now, and it's thanks to preparing myself over time, saving up money, buying what I needed when I needed it to make sure I had what I needed. But everybody's got to start somewhere. And usually when people start, they usually hit some kind of a road bump, hiccup, whatever you want to call it, something that slows them down in their tracks, making them rethink what they're going to do. So we're going to start with Miss Courtney because she's over in the upper left corner at the moment. Miss Courtney, you're on deck.
Oh. Is this thing on? Okay. No, I think starting out the most difficult. I mean, I don't know. I'm still like learning. So I don't know. I guess I still am starting out. I don't know. When I first started though and doing this, I lived in the city. So I had a completely different game plan than I do now. So my plan is different. But when I first started in the city, like I had routes that I needed to take and stuff like that. And planning was, I think, a little harder than it is now where I'm at, because now I'm doing everything here, and this is where I plan on staying if something were to happen. And so, you know, the only thing that's, I think, is a little more difficult is the cost of everything and everything like that. But as far as, you know, prepping food and stuff like that, like, I have my own garden and I do all my own stuff. So that makes it a little easier, because in the city we didn't have that option at all. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Okay. But
you're not crazy. You're not crazy.
yeah, when you live in the city though, and you know, and I worked like 45 minutes away as well. So you have to come up with some kind of plan. And I lived in a hostile city, like a really hostile city. Like, you can't walk down the street, you know, kind of city.
I can attest to that. I've driven through it a few times.
Yeah. So that versus here is completely different, you know. So I'm glad I kind of got to experience both. I still want to make a bug out bag for here, just in case something would happen and I have to leave this house. I don't plan on leaving this house. But
right,
if something were to happen, I still want to be a little more prepared, you know.
I mean, Miss Nina right now, she's living in a fairly remote area, but if she had to get up and go, she does have a very well, you still got your bag, Miss Nina?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's got a very well-stocked bag. And one of these days, Miss Nina, on your new channel,
Yeah.
just for, you know, kicks and giggles, maybe go over your bag.
Yeah.
Just so people can see what, you know, what somebody like you who's sitting already out in a very rural, remote area would have in a bag to get them through what they got to do. Because your bag is perfect for you. It's got everything you need. And people having more than just one bag. I mean, yeah, I've got several different bags on my videos. And, you know, there's other channels out there that, you know, if you don't have a Maxpedition bag, you're going to fail 2 days into your hike. And no, it's not necessarily the bag itself. It's the contents of the bag. The bag's halfway is decent. The contents will be as what, you know, are what's going to get you through. So for you, Courtney, it was getting your plan together.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. And it's scarier when you're in the city versus here. Like,
Yes.
I have a plan here, you know, but in the city it was different. Like, I kept thinking to myself, like, because I still worked. I lived in the city and I worked in the city, but it was still the same city. It was just 45 minutes away, the same city. So I always ran through scenarios in my head as like, well, if something were to happen and I needed to get home, you know, and I can't take the expressway, which way am I going to get home? Like, I was always running those kind of scenarios.
Okay.
Smart.
So,
Smart.
yeah. And there's lots of different things that happen in that city. So you have to be prepared.
Akron, Youngstown, they're all so pleasant.
Oh.
Yeah. Not nearly as bad as Cleveland, but pretty close.
Correct. Miss Mouse, what was your experience when you first decided?
Okay, like, so in 1999, you know, we came back to the U.S. from living abroad for 5 years in Spain. And after living, okay, Al is nailing it. Darn it, Al, you're going to kill me. I can't get my fingers right. So when we were in Spain, or you live in England, you realize how tiny things are. You don't have a vegetable garden. You don't have your canning gear, right? You can't get it over there. And you go to a fresh vegetable stand to get your vegetables. You go to a fish stand to get your fish. You know, there's no big grocery store. There wasn't at that time like we have, right? That you can go to one grocery store. Heck, you could buy a battery, a couple tires, and get carrots at Walmart. It's all insane, and a package of underwears, right? So we said, what are we going to do? And that decided we had 3 weeks. My husband was with the same company, right? And we had 3 weeks to find a place to live. And in 1999, the economy was jamming, right? So you have limited, you got 3 weeks to find a place to live. You're in a hotel. And so we tried to find a place. We couldn't find anything with land, right, to put up a garden, that sort of thing. And we could have gone out of the country again. So we thought, let's just get something with a great kitchen. We can, we'll make an outdoor kitchen and start holding on. Because like Nina, I didn't have come back to a stock of chicken broth or beef broth or all those canned goods or the stuff that we kept. So we said, let's start with a 2-week supply of food. All right, just from the jump. Because when you start filling up your refrigerator the first time, capers, mayonnaise, mustard, it's a $780 trip to the grocery, right? So we literally started with instant rice because I didn't have a dehydrator, okay? And then we'll get some Dinty Moore stew. So we said, let's get 2 weeks worth of food, lots of peanut butter, crackers. Let's start our food storage of 2 weeks worth of food, right, that we can have in that house. But we did not have a generator, but we did have the double propane stove for outside. So we knew we could cook and do those things. So after going abroad and seeing how vulnerable everything was with literally, and your refrigerator is like your college refrigerator, okay? An uneasy power, like your phones just went out, you had hardwired phones, your electricity would go out for an hour and a half for no reason. So we learned to feel quite vulnerable there without a larger house, a more secure everything. So that's how we started. And then just he was working then and said, okay, we want to get a new canner. You know, I had an old one, you know, that I grew up with that your grandma or your mom gives you. And then we got to get ball jars, that sort of thing, lids. So with him working, and we had to come back and buy 2 cars, right? Get a house, get furniture, that sort of thing. So he said, let's make a budget. This is what my 2-week paycheck is. Make a list of 20 things that you need. So canner, lids, dehydrator, just get the prices in general off Amazon and number them like what you want first. And then he would tell me, out of this next paycheck this Friday, you can get one of the things you want. So that's how we slowly started building up. I mean, it takes forever to build up your jars, your lids, your dehydrator, your supply of parchment paper, your what things you like to dehydrate and not. But when you dehydrate them, you have to have somewhere to put them. So then I got into the Mylar bags. So we did it very slowly, but first we did a 2-week supply of food. It was all canned and processed and high in salt, but it would give us an immediate 2-week supply of food. And then, of course, I think we maybe have ended up eating those for grins. We might have given them to a food pantry once we got our own canned chicken going, and then we built 3 weeks food and then 4 weeks food. But we had to do it on a budget, and I did it then by couponing. Y'all know I hate crap macaroni and cheese in a box. I abhor it. I don't understand where the cheese powder comes from. I ain't fixing to do it. So I ain't never had none of that, and I ain't fixing to never have none of that. If people got that, have at it, but even I did not get that, okay? Because I can make my own macaroni and cheese. So we started, that's why I call it knuckle dragging, okay, is how we did it. So that made us feel quite vulnerable. And so we didn't go out of the country after that, thankfully. And then the next house we moved like 8 years later, put in a big vegetable garden. Okay, we were more secluded on a lake. And then we said, we got to get out of this big city. The only reason we live here is for your corporate job. And so then we made a plan to retire at 55. Now I'm 64. And we built a place at the beach. First, you got to find the lot, right? Nina knows. She relocated to Tennessee. Takes a little bit of planning. So I would say what started me doing that was being in Europe and feeling very vulnerable. And then we had our own experiences in America, right? And said, we got to ramp this up. We got to get the hell out of the city while we're young enough to go out, whether, you know, it's homesteading or farming, any of those things. So I hope that wasn't too lengthy and it made any kind of sense at all. I tried.
Do you, Miss Nina?
Yeah, so, you know, I guess I'm in perpetual starting over, right? I'm a freaking pro at starting over. Um, one of the major things that I faced when I first started doing this prepping and homesteading, right, for both categories, because they're one and the same, in my opinion, is prioritizing the things that are most important. So one of the major things that I did was I had to decide, at that time I didn't have the same job I have now. So my income was a lot lower then than it is now. So I had to prioritize on, something as minute as the cable TV and the Hulu and the Netflix and all those different paid options that you have for watching programs. I had to go through and decide what was more important. Those programs, those viewing channels, those streaming options that I had, or having money available to get the things that I needed to get, such as a canner and jars and, things that I needed to take care of myself. So prioritizing those expenditures is something kind of along the same lines that you said, Mouse. You have to go through and decide what is more important. So the Netflix wasn't important. So I cut out all of those unnecessary expenses to pare down on what I had, to come out each month so that I would have the funds available. I went through my entire day or my entire month. Is this important? Is it something I need? Right. Such as a landline. Who has a landline now? Now I did when I was in Louisiana because it was needed for my job. Well, that requirement went away. So I did away with it. Right. I took away that expense. Cable TV is not something that I'm, involved with. I don't watch TV. If I have my grandkids over or whatever, we have a Fire Stick that gets every sort of option, every kind of program, and it doesn't cost me a monthly subscription. So that was a major thing that I had to go through, is prioritizing. And the second thing is patience. Holy cow, can I tell you, I am seriously lacking on patience, right? I need it done, and I need it done now. That has been a major stopping point for me, to stop and say, it's going to happen. You just have to take it, one thought at a time, one task at a time, and one day at a time.
Yes.
Go on, Monica. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's one of the major things, is prioritizing and stopping and thinking it's going to happen. It can be overwhelming, but just going through and now, I have my monthly expenses so pared down that I don't have to have the job that I have and be able to pay my bills every month, because I live below my means. I don't have to live to the same level as my income. I live below my means to make sure that, if something happens, it's no problem for me. It's nothing that I'm not used to,
Well, we're going to save the conspiracy. Oh, no, we're going to hit conspiracy theories now. Uncle Al, it's your turn.
Hi, folks. Yeah, everybody's going to be freaked out. I started in the 80s. I was still in, which force was it? I was SAT Command in the 80s. It was like 2 years before I deported them. Something happened. I wasn't very happy. And yes, the nuclear weapon was safe, but I still can't talk about that part. The other part was, for about, I think, 6 weeks, we were stuck underground with hardly no food. We're eating dog biscuits, and we're looking at the security dogs and said, I wonder what they taste like with ketchup and Tabasco sauce. And finally, the snowplows broke through. We got supplies. We get relieved. And I see people like Bruce, who passed away earlier, made the Ark 2 underground bunker in There's a whole routine. You have to be careful because a lot of people say, oh, we'll dig a hole, we'll live in it, no problem. No, if you live with 30 men underground, it's like a submarine. And there's only 4 toilets. You want to see you want to see the fist fights going on. 30 days, no food, crazy dogs. You have something in the bay that will wipe out half of Russia, and you're at your desk going, "Why am I the duty sergeant? Or what the hell's the survival kits have?" So I opened one up, and it has a little note. At this time in 1979, Jimmy Carter says that all survival kits, because of cost of money to maintain it, has removed this portion. Thank you from the acting general of the Air Force. I'm like, okay, that's loads of fun. I'm in a nuclear area, and I open up our survival kits, and we got this note from a 2-star general, which I won't mention his name because he's a 4-star right now. But
you just told me it was.
Sorry, but I look at it and it's like, yep, it's the same principle with the $800 toilet seat they try to tag me with on the KC. But that's how I started into the survival stuff, because a lot of the military at that time, if you weren't a pilot, they didn't give a. So he's a private in the Army. Too bad. Here's the book. Good luck. Am I right, Dave?
Yeah, you're handed a book and said, here, you've got 2 days to understand what's in this book. You're going to get a test on Friday in a room where the heat's turned up to 120 degrees. It's 110 outside and it's raining.
Yep.
And you don't dare fall asleep. It's done to deprive you. And for those who haven't been through military experience, they do their best to deprive you of your sanity during basic training so they don't have to worry about you when you're out in the field. It's not fun. And it's an experience everybody should face, for the simple fact is it will teach you how to not be frozen deer in the headlights look when something happens. It will teach you to stay on your mental faculties instead of just standing there like some people do with their phones. Check it out, man. You know,
right.
I'm not that kind of person.
And then when I got back to civilian life and I did some farming with my granduncle, and my granduncle's, how can I say it politely? Kind of the bent-nosed people, and and he only had let's see, that many fingers, and he was trembling all the time because I guess in his youth he screwed up, and they chopped off his finger. So he taught me a lot of things that I thought, well, I'll do like on Rambo and stuff. And he says, no, you're going to get killed. Don't wear camouflage, because if you get caught by the other side and we look Asian, you're going to get shot. And he was a smart old dude. So he taught me a lot of things. It's like, you could tell a guy, if he carries one of these, he's normal. If you see one of guys who have no idea dressed in camis and carry one of these, they're nuts.
Hey, wait a minute. I resemble that remark. One of 25 or so of those, but I mean,
Right, but we're ex-military, Dave. We have the right to carry one of these.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know how to use it.
Yeah, so do I. But I don't broadcast it, because it looks bad as a Sunday school teacher. What do you mean you could kill a man with a nail file 6 times? I'm like, no, we're going to learn about Noah. Do you know what's Noah's great grandfather who has? And they're answering, Fonzie? No. And it's like, they give me a headache you would not believe. Was it God? No. And after Easter Bunny, Rambo, other weird answers, one of them says one of the Korean boy bands. I'm like, what? And no, who was the great grandfather of Noah? Enoch. And they're all looking, oh yeah, Enoch was in Genesis, wasn't he? Yes. And I'm like, 40 minutes of that, and trust me, this is why I look tired all the time. Okay,
All
Gil.
right, Gil. It's on you, Gil.
All right. So let's hop in the Wayback Machine and fly back to 1971.
Back when dinosaurs still roamed the earth.
And I was a 14-year-old scout. Earned my first class, and was working on the emergency preparedness merit badge and doing all that fun stuff. And that spring, late spring, early summer, we got in our early summer, late spring. We were able to go out to this ranch, and we got a whole bunch of pears that had come in early. And my mom started canning. And because I was harping on, hey, we need to get food supplies and we're emergency preparedness. I was going over everything I was learning. I was going over with them. And then, lo and behold, in June, this happened. The Silmar quake in San Fernando Valley. And, there was, the big, huge overpasses over up in north of Silmar all came down. The new hospital built came down. Everything just went to. And then my mom and dad started paying more attention to what I was saying. And it was tough being a 14-year-old saying, hey, we need to do this, 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 this. This is what we should be doing. Because when my brother had done it 3 years earlier, they totally blew him off. And he wasn't as obnoxious about it as I was. And so they started doing that. And that's when we started doing stuff. And it was, first it was an uphill battle with my parents for the first year and a half. And then other people were, at church had heard about, that I'd known all about this stuff, and they were asking me to talk to them. And the looks on some of the people's faces like, yeah, what does this kid know? And I had done all my research I could and everything, and I show people that it was trying to get the point across to people that pull your head out of your collective. What's a polite way of saying it? Anyways, I can't think of a polite way to say it. And take off your rose-colored glasses and look what's going on in the world back in 1973 by then. And finally, people saw, more people started doing it, listening to me, and they say, "Oh, we better have an emergency preparedness fair." And that was the first time I was involved in emergency preparedness fair. But then it went on, and finally, by the time I graduated from high school, I think we had about 2 years' supply of food. We were back on the place I grew up at in Martinez, California, which was 1.25 acres, and started planting a huge garden and everything else, and started doing stuff we were supposed to be doing. That was my start was just trying to get, being a youngster, trying to get people to listen to me, saying, "Hey, this is what it is," and yeah. But the funniest thing though is right after the Loma Prieta earthquake, they asked my mom at church to write a emergency plan for earthquakes, and she didn't know anything about it. So I wrote it. She typed it up, and we gave it out to everybody for free. Big old, it was like a four-page full sheets of stuff to do and everything else. When I started to work for Homeland Security, I pulled up the Los Angeles Fire Department's emergency preparedness site. Guess what was on their site being claimed by somebody else? Although it was now a 10-page article, right there was here these full 5 paragraphs, exactly word for word out of it, and I still have the original. So hey, I scored big as a 14-year-old scout.
Awesome, that is awesome.
But yeah, don't my lesson learned on that is don't give up, just keep going. Keep beating your head against their 2x4 till their 2x4 breaks, and then they realize, oh, I don't want butt heads.
So I guess that means it's my turn now. Jeez.
Yes,
It's your turn.
Nobody wants to hear my story, but seeing as how I'm up here, I guess I'll tell it anyway. Basically, I had never thought about. I mean, I grew up. My mom had the basic understanding of having extra, but going through everything I went through as a child, that kind of left, having to go through all the foster homes and shelter homes. And yes, I'm down here. Here, let me mess with you a little bit. There. Now find me. Ha-ha. Anyway, going through all the foster homes and shelter homes and through all the stuff we did. I never really put much stock into trying to be prepared because I always figured, up until my 30s that I wasn't going to have it if I'd saved it anyway, which for the most part was true. Every time I'd have anything, I'd wind up having to give it up or lose it, or, it was taken. So for the most part, I never even bothered trying. Now, once Charles came into this world, it became a different story. My priorities changed drastically really fast because it went from a four-person family down to just me and him. And I realized I didn't have enough in the house if something happened. If I was off work for 2 weeks, because at the time I still worked. I worked at Lowe's, was in a position for getting into management. And, I realized at his age, he was still on formula. I got my last paycheck and spent the $64 out of my paycheck because that's all I got that week, because I had to take time off for lack of a babysitter. And I spent that on his formula and realized I didn't have enough food in the house for myself, let alone him. So it got to the point where I had to sit there and, it's like, I have nothing. I have nothing for him. I've got to change this. And it became very overwhelming very quickly, realizing what we needed to have in the house just for 2 weeks. Because I sat down and wrote out a list. Okay, this is what I need to eat. This is what he's got to have to eat. And his food was 3 times what I needed to eat. I could live off salad and ramen noodles, but heck, even nowadays, salad is stupid expensive. Which I will be doing that again this summer, going back on salads. But making that initial plan was my roadblock because I'm not a paper person. Never have been, wasn't in school. And after driving truck for all those years, looking at a stack of papers, I can't stand writing on paper. I've spilled more ink on logbooks than most people spend in most office careers. I just don't like writing. And now with my hands the way they are, I can't do it much anyway. But that was my hurdle. It was writing my plan out. Sitting down, taking the time, focusing on it enough to say, this is what I've got to have. He's got to have, whole milk, half a gallon for the week. And, trying to figure out when he was transitioning from Infamil and all that stuff over to soft baby foods, and figuring out how many jars I had to have of each, on top of still being able to get extra. And with very little income coming in, it made it very difficult, almost to the point of wanting to give up a couple times. But me being the stubborn old fart I am, I didn't give up. I haven't yet, obviously, because he's still here and I'm still kicking the bucket down the road. So the biggest thing for me was actually taking the time to sit down and make the list itself and not giving up when I realized that list was, yeah, we see him, Mouse. You can't hide him. Just taking the time to actually sit down and do it and not give up when it seems so overwhelming. Because being and single moms will tell you this too. Anybody that's been a single parent will tell you, when your focus is on your child, making sure your child has what it needs, and trying to sit down and make a list for what that child needs is very overwhelming. Because you start realizing, oh, man, I need this. And, dang it, that's $20 this. And oh, darn it, I got to go out and buy a box of diapers and some wipes. And there's another $35 in this day and age. And, that's cheap diapers. That's not the good stuff, like Huggies or Loves or anything like that. Those are $40 a box. So sitting down and making the list was my biggest priority and my biggest hurdle. And it took me a long time to then, start. Okay, now I've got extra diapers. But when he finally came out of diapers, I went through the closet. I still had 2 boxes of preemies, 1 box of 1 to 3 month old. I still had small boxes of the diapers we'd used at the beginning that he'd grown out of that I just shoved in the closet, and I gave those away. But if you sit down and make your list and stick to it, sticking to the list is key. No matter how mundane, boring, and sometimes stressful it can be to say,
Monotonous, is that what you was going to say?
say what? Somebody gonna say something about monotonous?
Sticking to the list.
Yep.
For those that weren't here the last time that happened, Dave accidentally said monotonous when the ladies were talking.
Yep. I threw that in there on purpose. But you know, it became real hard for a minute. So I guess the point is, if you are in a spot where you're just starting out, which is what most of my videos are premised at, you know, helping the beginner get started. You know, you don't see me doing reviews on $200 gun sights and, you know, $5,000 weapon systems and, you know, battle rattle. Yeah, I've got a bulletproof vest back here, AR 500. I'll stand behind that company till the day I die because, well, I trust them. That's the reason I have it. And, you know, I believe in that company. Do I believe in Maxpedition? You're paying for a name and a price. I've got a mossy oak bag upstairs. That's my bug out bag. That's, in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion, is worth every bit that Maxpedition bag right there is worth. Okay, that's the medical bag that I bought off Doc Bones and Nurse Amy's off their website. That's a $100 bag. That bag upstairs was a $35 bag. That bag upstairs has been through more abuse, and it's still, all the zippers still work. All the seams are still solid. It's got 40 pounds worth of gear in it. I've walked several miles with it, many, many times over the last couple of years with it, and it's still holding strong. So don't focus on trying to have the latest, greatest things. Start with the small stuff. If you're new, go through my beginning preppers videos. You don't have to have the high dollar stuff from, you know, whatever store, you know, what is it called? REK or whatever it's called. Whatever. Yeah. REI. That's it. You don't have to go there and buy all your stuff. Go to a dollar store, pick up a couple muffin tins that are $1 each. Pick up some silverware for $1. You know, pick up a pack of silverware for $1, and pick up one of those little liquid strainers. You know, to strain, you know, small, really small. Get a fine one. Then go out to a creek somewhere. Take that strainer, put it near the edge of your pan, strain some water in it, build yourself a fire, and learn to boil water with the cheap stuff. So as your skills improve, you can then improve your gear as well.
Yes.
Because that's another thing. Using your skills, it's a perishable item. Having up here, you may know it, but if you don't practice it, you can lose the ability to be able to do it in a stressful situation. How many people right now, if they lost all their power, could run outside and cook a 4-course meal? Well, everybody up here on the panel, I'm sure. And most of you folks out there. Well, I don't know about Gil. Gil probably have to have the wife for some help, but
no, Gil made a video.
It wouldn't be a 4-course meal. It'd be a 6-course Pierre Condon meal.
No. See, that's too much food.
He has a hot dog.
Now you're trying to feed the whole neighborhood.
Hot dog and pork and beans video. He did that. I also did that too. But
I also did the survival mix video too last year.
All right, but the point is, practice with the cheap stuff. Don't worry about that titanium cook pot with the titanium silverware that'll cost you $90 for the set. Okay, that $90, if you break that down and go to Walmart, buy a $12 canteen set from what is it? I can't think of the name now. Stanley.
Ozark Trailer. Ozark.
Buy the $13 Stanley set with a set of plastic spoons. Heck, go over to the paper plate aisle at Walmart, buy a box of the plastic fork, spoons, and knives for $2.50. For that, you know, that's like 25 of each. That'll get you started. Because if crap were to happen tomorrow and you only bought that $75, $80 titanium cook pot set with silverware, but you have nothing else to go with it, it didn't help you one bit. But if you go spend $25 for, a couple pre-bags of, let's say, some mashed potatoes, some tuna, the chunk tuna in the aluminum foil package, which lasts for about a year and a half to 2 years from the day you buy it at the store. So you can go out, buy yourself the Stanley cook pot, some plastic silverware, some packaged food that'll last for 2 to 3 years on the shelf. Now you have the beginnings of a small bag that you can carry, and it's lightweight. Yeah, it's not as light as that titanium set, but guess what? Now you have a lot more than that titanium set. So focusing on the needs more than the wants first. And like Miss Nina says, living below your necessary budget. If your budget says I have to have, $75 a week to pay my bills, and you're making $200 a week, you're living below that budget because you have the surplus. That may not be the best way to explain it, but you see what I'm saying. Being able to live that way for an extended period of time, eventually you're going to have a house full of stuff, gear, that you're going to be able to start helping other people and getting other people to realize, hey, maybe it is pretty smart to have this. Because some people, hello, Kathleen, some people will get into the mindset of, hey, I really want to start prepping. I want to start being prepared. I want to have extra food in the house. I want to learn I can. And then they'll say something to family. Hey, I want to get into canning. I want to do this. And their family looks at them like, what? Are you stupid? Why do you want to do that, man? Just run down to the dang store, man. You can get what you need down there at the corner store. And they'll sit there and they'll listen to that. Oh, yeah, they're right. No, if you have the mindset, something's triggered in your brain saying, I want to have extra. I want to be prepared if the lights go out for an hour or 10 days.
Yeah.
Or if I live in down south where they have hurricanes all the time and they're getting more and more frequent, you may need a plan to say, hey, I got to have food in an underground concrete bunker that I can seal up to keep water out. That way my extra stuff is stay there, and I need a bag to take with me in a car. So if the state says, get the out of Dodge, I can get the out of Dodge and not have to worry about it. Then start working on that. Don't listen to the family's naysaying.
Exactly.
Eventually they'll either come around to it or they're going to call you Uncle Al. I mean, they're going to call you a crazy person. And,
poor Uncle Al.
Hey, don't feel bad. I've been called more than crazy. Thankfully, some people who used to think I'm crazy are now starting to ask questions like, hey, what do you think about this stuff? Or is this good? Or, hey, what about this knife? Is this knife any decent? Or what about these tents? Or, and you can I've got the cheap on my YouTube channel here in the playlist is one on a tent. It is the cheapest doggone tent you can buy at Walmart. It's now several years old. You know what? I take care of it and it still works. It's not ripped. It doesn't leak. I mean, yeah, you'll get condensation on it, but there's ways around that too. So if you get the cheaper stuff and take good care of it, you'll have an emergency plan when needed. And some people, like me, sometimes I'll have a plan, but I'll store it up here and then something will happen and I'll forget half my plan. Mm-hmm. Don't be me. Write the stuff down. And if you're the kind of person that loses papers, also guilty, laminate it, stick it in a 3-ring binder, put an orange piece of tape on the outside that says emergency, and stick it in a bookshelf. That way it's always front center in your mindset. Every time you walk by, oh yeah, there's my plan.
Yeah, both.
And then every few months, pull out that book and look at it and make adjustments to the stuff you've got in that. Take one of those dry erase pencils or markers, so you can have a line on there. I added this on this date. So, if you need to rotate something, you can rotate it. You were wanting to say something there, Al?
Yeah, both me and Dave, we go camping when it's possible. So we have the outside experience. So we can set up a tent. I tell my family, put the kids outside, tell them they're camping this weekend. Don't come back inside the house. And you see them learn really quick. And they're like, why is my grandnephew flipping the bird at Uncle Alan? I'm teaching him how to survive. They're in the backyard. And I told them, thunderstorm, it's going to rain. So I shake a piece of aluminum and they're looking at me, what do you mean rain? Then I hit them with the water hose. Get into your tent. It's raining. Now try to cook lunch. And I'll spray the tent with water And they said, we didn't put up our rain fly. I said, whose fault is that? The thunderstorm waved a piece of aluminum and spam down. Like, no, it's your fault. So they learned the hard way. Go ahead, Dave.
For those looking for canning supplies, come here to where I live in the surrounding area. There is tons.
Wow.
The Kroger, the Walmarts that are around me, the Myers, all have canning jars and lots of lids.
Whoa.
So come down here to Ohio and where I'm at, and you can find all kinds of your supplies.
Yeah, the Walmart near us, it has nothing in it.
Hey, Dave.
Like as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. Hey, Dave.
No, I'm not. No,
expect Courtney come to make a drive down to you to pick it up
with a trailer. Yeah.
And I will add, you know, if you're just starting out and you're trying to change your plan, right, and you try it for a month and you don't succeed, don't give up. You know, accept that you learned lessons and keep doing it month after month until you succeed. You know,
what I'd like to point out right here, right now, when it comes to setting up a plan, when I worked at PHS, that was one of the classes I taught. And they sent me around to emergency preparedness fairs. I just posted that this last week, and I broke it up with the hour and a half class up to 3 videos, and I just put it on my channel. It's called Prepping for Beginners, number 3, part A, B, and C, planning for emergencies.
Nice.
And one of the things, talk about it specifically, and I hammer it on there, write it down, then put it on an Excel spreadsheet. And then you can sort it and get your priorities, what you want, you write all your stuff down, and then you can go through it, you number it. All right, this is number 1, this is number 2, no, this is number 1. So you wind up with 3 number 1s and 2s, 4, and you sort it. And then you have all your number 1s, and then you can renumber everything again until the exact order. And it works great, and it'll get you where you need to go. And then you print it off and stick that in your binder.
Right. Yeah. Or if you have the phone, you can put an app on there, and it'll cover your spreadsheet. So if you're going grocery shopping, you just look at that, and then okay, and tap it in. Scroll up, tap it in again. Yep, I have that. Don't need to buy that. And scroll down. Like I said, these things are handy if you know how to use it right, Dave?
And remember, page protectors are very affordable. You can get a 50-pack of them, with the binder, 3 holes in them. And I think the summary from all this is the key word is planning. Nina summarized it brilliantly on you making your priorities. You hear kids all the time, well, I only have Spotify and Hulu and Netflix. All those add up, $13.99, $9.99 a month, $6.99.
But I want them all.
Yes, have to have them. We need them. And like I've talked about before, I'm never paying $8.50 for an average cup of Joe at Starbucks. I'm just not doing it. You can't make your own coffee. You know what I mean?
Get me started on Starbucks.
So any of us can get anything we want if we have the discipline to get it. And usually that starts with a list. If you want it bad enough, you can get it. And Nina's summary was so cool, right? What are the things I absolutely have to have? We would go out to eat 2 to 3 times a week. Didn't matter if it was an expensive restaurant or cheap. And then our friends are like, hey, we're going out. Now, my husband and I would pay with cash, right? And they're like putting it on a Visa. And I'm like, no, we're saving for some things we need. Oh, y'all aren't fun anymore. Well, I'm not buried in credit card debt trying to eat out for $167, right? That I don't need to do. Because again, we were saving for canning jars or a can.
So they didn't think you were fun because you weren't charging it up.
Right. Well, we're not.
Yeah, I've ran the same thing.
Yeah. And so it's sad. And I liked how Rebel Canner just said, all of a sudden she's popular again because canning is back, right? And you talked about hurricanes, Ohio. When we said we're choosing the beach, we're not on the beach in a velocity zone, right? We're 3 miles back. Everywhere has a risk, whether you're in Oklahoma with tornadoes, Nebraska, Iowa with winds and dust storms. You pick the place that we, like Courtney said, this is where she wants to be. This is our bug out, right? If we have to leave, it would be a seriously dire predicament. But like Courtney said, she'll make a plan for that. Don't let people foo-foo, right, or discount your stupid plan. It's a plan you make with your husband or yourself, or like Ohio did, to I have to provide for a child. And somebody put single mother syndrome in the side chat when you were talking about that. It's a heavy load. So when you make a plan that you believe is sound, don't give two fat figs if your neighbor or your brother or your mama or your papa foo-foo it. You're making a plan, and it's up to me and my husband, right, to take care of and provide for each other. So if you want something bad enough, you'll get it, whether it's new tires or a new car or a bigger house or a double wide. I had friends who really pared their life down, and they came up with a brilliant plan for, they went from a house to a single wide, and they built it, what do you call it, the crawl space of brick, and then it becomes an actual home for insurance in the, but they're not on the beach or near velocity or high winds. And they turned that whole area under it, what do you call that, a trap door in your floor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That way they prep is they use the 5-gallon buckets, and they put their foods, the mashed potatoes, every bucket had 4 days worth of food in it. And then they were able to use that crawl space underneath, but they bought that trailer for cash, cleared the lot, put the well in, put the septic. And people are like, oh, I don't want to go to their trailer. And I thought, when you see it, you'll be eating your heart out, right? Because they became, boom, debt free at like 46.
Nice.
So you let people criticize your plan and the way you prep. And our summary was, we planned it. We wrote down, we got what we felt we needed. Do your own thing. Nobody's covering your 6 but you, right?
Absolutely.
The only stupid plan is a plan that you don't write down and don't follow. That's the only stupid plan. It's like the old saying is, the only stupid question is one not asked. Well, that's true in this situation as well. If you don't, sometimes you have to actually break down and ask a question. It's just like when I first started thinking about doing dehydrating. In the group I was in at the time, I asked for recommendations. I had no clue what to get, what to look for. And everybody was saying, hey, these are the Cadillacs. This is what you want to try and get. And I'm looking at the price like, oh my goodness, I live on disability. I can't afford a $300 dehydrator. What the heck y'all thinking?
Hey, Dave, I got to slide out of here. So before I go, I want a couple things I'll fire off to them. You need 4 things to make your plan: pencil and paper, a co-planner because 2 heads are better than 1, an open mind ready to receive any odd suggestions because it may inspire you to find the thing you need. And 4th one is patience, because you can't do it in one time. And when you actually are making your plan, remember SMART goals. All goals need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. And with that, I'm going to slip over and get my live stream ready to go here in 5 minutes.
That's perfect.
But I don't even remember. Dang squirrels anyway. Oh, dehydrators.
It's in Ohio that your love was so great for your child, you knew you had to have more in stock from him. The whole thing was just motivated from love. That's your why, WHY.
Yep. And when it came to dehydrators, I asked Nina, I asked Mouse, because we were all part of a group, and a few others, and I came right down to getting the Weston because it has the heater and the fan at the back instead of underneath or on top. So I don't have to sit there and worry about rotating my trays every few hours because, I have ADHD. I admit it. And my brain runs 250,000 miles an hour in 72 different directions. Even while I'm talking to you guys right now, my brain is thinking about 2 emails I sent out earlier about getting stuff to review on the channel. I'm thinking about my kid back here. So my brain is constantly running. So for me to focus on something is extremely difficult, which is for me, taking the time to write this stuff down was my hurdle. And I got past it. So if I can get past it, you can do it. When it comes to canning, like Mouse says, if she can do it, you can do it too. Yes. Just take the time and do a little bit of research before you dive headlong into it and get overwhelmed to the point where you quit. Don't give up. It can be done. Even by the least of us. I live on disability. And if I can get to where I'm at on disability by taking the time and saying, look, I know I've got $30 extra this month after bills, and everything else, and I've got my, my incidental money put aside. I know I got $30 extra I can put toward getting this item I want to be prepared with. And if it ain't enough, I try to leave it in the bank for a month or two so I can earn, get a little extra interest on it maybe and get what I need.
Okay, for all you new preppers out there, because Uncle Alan's an old. Add some more old. I'm older than everybody around here because I remember Bob Newhart. But that's how old Uncle Alan is, because I remember phones with tails. Like my little nephew says, "Your phone has a tail, Uncle Alan." No, it's a dial phone on the wall. And they're looking at me. Phones with tails. Okay, Uncle Alan's nuts. I keep telling people, don't buy these stupid battle box. I had a big argument with Practice Prepper about everybody buying new gadgets and gimmicks and stuff. If you buy this new gadget, it'll save you from getting wet. Okay, this only cost me $1. It's an emergency poncho I picked up at a flea market. Behind it is a space blanket. 2 things you can put in a 5x7, I think 4x7 package, and just put it in your pocket.
That little shoulder bag right there has got some in it. It's also got a tarp. It's got a small wire rack so I can put a pot on it. So I can set some rocks around my fire, set the rack on it. I can put a pot on it. The pot's not directly in the fire. It's over the fire.
Right. But you see, Dave's right. You see these people buy battle boxes for $75. You get a little grill. You get a bag to put in the grill. And you have one of those titanium pots in there. Am I right, Dave?
Yeah, I've subscribed to Battle Box and a few of the others, and there are a couple that are really good. But if you're just starting out, stay away from them because you're going to wind up with gear you don't need that you're going to have to try and sell to recoup money that you're probably not going to get back.
But again, don't let people poo-poo your idea. If you can afford to do that subscription, and it starts getting you some experience with things, and then you go, this isn't a good quality. Don't allow anybody poo-poo on your dream, right? Okay, this is what I'm going to do right now. And they can always cancel it, and then they'll get an idea. There's so many men. I always say, if you have a man who has clear manicure nail polish on and wears tasseled shoes and can't kill a bug, right? You don't have a man. You're married. That's a girlfriend. Okay, so if a guy
he has no man card.
Yeah, if a guy hasn't been taught by a dad or an uncle, how to do basic carpentry, they used to teach it at Home Depot and Lowe's for free. They don't anymore. But if people don't know, they don't know. So that subscription box can help a man who has common sense go, I really like the idea of this knife, but this quality's bad. They've got to start somewhere. So if you want to get a subscription box, get it.
Yeah, if you can afford it, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Tac Pack, if you're into the firearm side of things, Tac Pack, in my opinion, for the $50 a month, is the best subscription box to get. And I've received quite a few from different companies. Battle Box, if you can afford the $170 a month, because you got to figure shipping on Battle Box. If you can afford $170 a month, then get Battle Box. Try them out for a couple months. They do have some great stuff in the past missions, and I'm sure future missions are going to have some good stuff in it too. They also have some pretty crappy missions. So that's, for me, the downside to a subscription service is you're getting what they want to give you, whatever their deal of the month was, short of the knife of the month, which is usually pretty decent. So, that being said, if you can afford it, do it. Final thoughts, ladies?
I like what P2E, Prepping to Endure, just said. Research your gear and get the best you can afford. Vern and I do a good, better, best category, right? Based on those things. And then we make that decision together, right? It's like people saying never get a K-bar knife. Hello, I'm an Army brat, okay? It's just what we're going to get. You don't like them? You don't like it? Don't buy you one. That's what I say. Do your own thing. And as others said in the side chat, Nina, Patience, Courtney, right? Just do something. Don't quit trying. Texas Rob just said, I teach myself because my dad couldn't. You know what I mean? You could have a handicapped father. You might not have a father. Don't be afraid to start where you are. If you're 40 or 39 or 60, okay, I'm 64 years old. I ain't gonna quit. I didn't get this old being a punk, right, or an idiot or stupid. Do your thing and don't let anybody criticize you. Don't do anything stupid that'll kill you. That's the only way you can mess up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm heading over to Gil's.
All right.
Cats, everybody over there. Nice talking to you, ladies.
You
Bye,
too.
Angela. See you over there.
Bye.
Bye.
Miss Courtney, any final thoughts?
No, just don't stress yourself out about it.
Yes.
Because, I've found myself doing that. We don't have this. We don't have that. And then with everything that's going on in the world, you can completely stress yourself out about it. Don't do that. Just buy what you can and do what you can. Don't go out there and buy the most expensive things and put yourself into debt. That's my word of advice to you, because we don't have that kind of money to be dropping on things. So, I can, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So that's cheap to me.
Do the best you can where you are and with what you have. That's perfect,
Yeah.
Courtney.
Right. Baby steps.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
what it's all about. Do what
Any
you
last
can.
words, Miss Nina?
Yeah, I was going to say baby steps. Do what you can. Each thing that you accomplish or each thing that you acquire makes you one step better than you were the month before. So, just keep stepping.
Yeah, the most pertinent words are you are your own first responder.
Yes.
And that doesn't just mean in medical. I mean, that means in every aspect of your life. You're the first person there, literally. You're there and it just happened. You are your own first responder. Do what you have to do. If you get a bag like that medical bag there, get some training to make sure you can use it, because having a bag like that won't do Charles a darn bit of good, because he has absolutely no clue.
Right.
And my friend, my landlord, he has no clue to use how to use half of it. So it's not going to do him a lick of good. I could hand it to him. He'd have the gear, but what do I do with it now? The gear you get, learn to use. Don't let it overwhelm you. You can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. And with that being said, I want to thank the ladies for coming up here this evening. Your presence is more than welcome up here anytime. Greatly appreciate it. And
So thanks for having us. Thanks for having me on, Dave.
Yes, thank you very much.
For those who are still here, we're going to drop out of here. We're going to head over to Gray Man Prepping, and that's Gray, not Grey, Gray. Gil did put a link up there earlier. I probably suppose I could go find it if y'all need it.
Let me try and find it, because I can't find it. There's a channel that's spelled differently that I'm going to watch. Gray Man Prepping, right?
Gray.
Okay, let me try and find it, because I just looked and couldn't find it. And I'm like, what the heck? No, it's Grey. Huh. Yeah,
The link is, I put the link in the private for you if you need it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for helping.
There is a Grey, yes.
Okay.
And that is a different channel. And for some reason,
Yes.
I'm not showing Gil's up on here.
I couldn't get it. Thank you so much. Gosh,
Oh, you're
Courtney, that
welcome.
was frustrating, because I see a bunch of people over there who got confused as well. Thank you very much. Gosh.
And
I want to be with encouraging people, not Joe Cools. Okay. I don't want to be with the cool people, man, talking the tactical gear, getting down, right? What you got to do. We have always just been a very wholesome, down to earth group of people. I just don't want to roll with the cool kids. Okay. Because it always blows up. And I just, we're all back together, right? It's so wonderful to be with Ohio, Nina, to be able to interact with Courtney, and then Rebel Canner, Tammy. It's just, I don't know, we just have a special groove. I'm not interested in a huge audience and being cool. We just motivate each other. And, I just met Courtney, and she just helped the elderly. So everybody who rolls with y'all is just nice.
that's it, folks. I want to say thanks for stopping by. Y'all be safe. God God bless. And until the next live stream, which will be Friday, more news, even though some channels hate me covering the news. Yeah,
Too bad.
too bad.
Suck it
It's
up,
your
it's your
thing.
channel.
You do your own thing.
Bye, y'all.
That's it.
Bye.
Miss
Be safe.
Nita.
God bless.